All right. Well, I'm Garrett, and this is the Startup 360 podcast, and I'm sitting here with Kristen Jackson, who is currently the owner of not one but two Sweetwater Cafe.
Almost two, yeah.
Almost two. So it's really exciting because the second one is you just announced like 3 days ago. So I guess just to kind of start off, can you just kind of introduce yourself, give us like a high level thing, and then we'll dive in a little deeper?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Kristen Jackson. So I own the Sweetwaters on Plymouth Road, which is the north side of Ann Arbor. And soon in the summertime we'll be opening opening a Sweetwaters cafe inside of a Meijer on the south side of town. It'll be one of the first Sweetwaters inside of a Meijer. So it's kind of a new business model slightly. So it's exciting about that.
Cool. So how did you get connected with Meijer and being able to put a franchise in there?
So Meijer is a Michigan business, and they like to stay local when they can. And Sweetwaters was founded in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So they had reached out, I believe, to Sweetwaters, the corporate office, to see if anybody was interested in replacing the Starbucks that was inside of Meijer. So we were interested, and they reached out to me, being a new franchise owner, and I can't say no to a good opportunity, so I took it.
Awesome. Yeah. So you are replacing Starbucks, which as a non-Starbucks coffee shop has to feel pretty good.
Yeah. So it's not actually technically a Starbucks, it's a Starbucks license. So most of the Starbucks that you see inside of stores like Target and Meijer are actually run by Target and Meijer employees, or whatever store it might be, and they're have the permission to use the license and the products and everything. So not exactly in the coffee industry, so they would like someone who their expertise lies in coffee. So.
Gotcha. Cool. So kind of taking a step back then, how did you let's just start at the beginning, because we were talking beforehand, like how did you first become an entrepreneur, and I guess kind of describe your kind of career growing
Sure.
up into this point, because...
Yeah, so I attended the University of Michigan architecture, and that was kind of right when the economy crashed and the recession hit about 15 years ago. So it wasn't really the best time to become an architect. And I had been working at Zingerman's, which is a pretty famous food place around the world. And I had been working there in college, so I ended up going back there to work full time. And they're really big on a unique business philosophy, the way that they operate their restaurants. And they're all about teaching the employees how to empower them to take ownership in part of the business, and teaching them all about business no matter where they are and what position they're working in. So I kind of took advantage of that and went through all of the University of Zingerman's classes. A class came up that was about entrepreneurship, so I took that. Okay. And I'm kind of like having a quarter life crisis on what I'm going to do next. Decided that it would be a dream to own a restaurant that served authentic Asian, like Taiwanese food, which is my background. So I approached the owners and said that I wanted to start the next Zingerman's business, and it was going to serve steamed pork buns, Taiwanese pork buns, and ramen, and they're like, great, go for it.
Awesome. So they have this class on entrepreneurship, and then it seems like their goal in part then is to have you come along and say, hey, like, we're gonna help you, we're gonna like probably fund this business to some extent, and obviously probably more training and coaching. So obviously they didn't just say like, oh cool,
yeah.
Go ahead, like what was that, what did that look like, that kind of like process from,
right.
Here's my idea to have a food cart?
Yeah, so actually I came to them with the idea first before actually taking the entrepreneur class, just in my like mid-life crisis state.
Okay.
And instead of them just saying like whatever, they really saying go do it, and they saw the demand for a couple different people that had ideas about restaurants, and they wanted to do a spin-off of like, is there like doing business with Zingerman's as a managing or a partner business.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how the entrepreneur club started. Was like a couple of us came to them with different ideas at the same time, and they saw the need for it. It was also written into their vision for Zingerman's as a whole to start a few new Zingerman's businesses by the year 2020.
Okay.
And so that was stated clearly in their goal that they want to do that. So it was in their interest as well.
Yep.
And part of their like research and development to bring along new businesses, which is the way they expand instead of doing like a chain or a franchise model. So they like to start new different types of businesses that are Zingerman's instead of copying the same type of business.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because obviously they have the one sandwich shop that where they kind of
the
they get
deli,
it started,
yeah.
and then they've expanded, but yeah, it's never seemed to be the exact same thing. Okay, so they gave you the go ahead, and so you had one other partner in this.
So along the way, after I kind of had the idea and was getting visions going of what I wanted to be, met up with who was my business partner at the time. And she had a similar type of vision, so we kind of combined ours, and the opportunity came up because downtown Home and Gardens downtown has had a space that they wanted to develop into an outdoor food cart with several different food carts that share the same kitchen, and so they, restaurant owners talking to each other. It came to Zingerman's and they said, do you have anyone interested? And that'd be a great incubator for a business. So we decided to try that. And a few months later, we had a food cart that
awesome.
we had to learn how to run and come up with a menu and work through standard operating procedures with the health department, because that was brand new for the health department.
Okay.
So we jumped through a bunch of hoops to do that. And
so you helped the health department regulate food carts then? Is that
right.
in our
yeah.
And now is that county based or what is it?
Yep, county based.
Okay.
And so no one in Washington County had done that type of model. There were like hot dog stands and stuff like that, or a complete food truck with all the kitchen and everything inside of it, but not a few different food carts in a space sharing the same kitchen down the street. So they're like, well, if you want to do it, write the SOPs and we'll approve it. And so
awesome.
That's what we did to get started.
Well, that's cool. Did you? So do you think you wrote any rules that you regret doing, or like that came back to bite you?
It was all based on like food safety, and so they're kind of required anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
yeah.
So now, what did I guess kind of dive in a little bit? Like, what did your ownership stake in that food cart look like, and like what was Zingerman's and your partners? Was it just like thirds or?
So Zingerman's helped fund most of it.
Okay.
My partner and I were going through the process at the time to become managing partners, which would own a percentage of the business. But at the time, it was part of their like research and development fund, and we were doing business at Zingerman's. So we didn't have a huge financial stake in it, but it was kind of like our pilot and our test to be able to prove both to either a bank if we needed to get funding, or to Zingerman's that say like we should be managing partners, we can do it, and we're profitable.
Yeah. Okay. So in a sense it was Zingerman. So Zingerman's owned it, and you were in a prove it state.
You're right.
Okay. Now, obviously, you're not doing that now.
Right.
So where, I guess well first was it profitable? Like, how successful was it? Where is it now?
Yeah, so it was profitable within the first, I believe, 3 months. We made it work really hard. And after the second cart season, kind of our visions were not aligned on what we wanted it to be, and my personal vision of what I wanted in life was kind of drifting apart, because I was also working full-time as a manager at Zingerman's Deli at the same time as doing this startup, so I was working a ton of hours.
When you say like our visions were not aligned. The Singerman's visions for the cart, or your partner?
Business partner.
Okay.
So we just had different ideas of what we wanted it to be. The end goal both being a brick and mortar restaurant, but what exactly did that look like and what type of food we were carrying. And so I decided to step away from it, mainly because I was debating on if I should start a family. I really just wanted to be clocked out at 5 o'clock and not have to worry about anything. And
Gotcha.
so I stepped away. The food cart went on to do multiple seasons, I believe maybe 6 or 8.
Oh, wow.
The whole food cart now the courtyard is closed down.
Yep.
But they moved on to open a brick and mortar restaurant and fulfill their vision and everything. I think they're doing pretty well. So
awesome.
That worked out well.
Okay, great. And did you, like, when you stepped away, were you vested in the business at that point? Like, or was it more or less kind of like quitting a job? Because obviously at some point you were not an owner. Did you become an owner before you stepped away, or what did that look like?
No, so we weren't completely through the managing partner process at the time, so I wasn't like a managing partner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was kind of like my baby that we had created our blood, sweat, and tears putting into it, so it was kind of like emotional investment into it. So it was a little hard stepping away, but it's like definitely for the best for both of us, I think.
Gotcha. Is there, so like you said you were thinking about starting a family, and obviously that's also a really large time commitment as well, on top of another full-time job and doing a startup and things like that. Okay, so you went on to see it. So you stepped out after 2 seasons, you said, and then it went on to do another 4 to
6 maybe.
Okay, great. So you did basically you started something awesome that grew into a restaurant, which was like the ultimate goal.
Right.
So you get
co-founder, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, so, but it's obviously there was a part of it where you were the one that did that, right? Or at least got. I mean, like that initial phase of getting something off the ground, profitable within 3 months, like that's a huge accomplishment, right? That's very atypical for the restaurant industry too, to go that quickly. I don't know about food carts, I guess.
Yeah, I think food carts, it's a hard business, so I would say we did well with it for what we had.
Gotcha. Do you think you would do it again?
No.
No?
Kind of been there, done that, I don't need to really do that again.
Cool. All right, so food cart's done, and what were you, so were you just back at Zingerman's then?
For a few months, and then I ended up going into the corporate world. I worked at like Consumers Energy, University of Michigan, Domino's IT, and so I got kind of in the IT world, and ran with that for a bit.
Okay, so you took a
like a
huge,
hard left,
hard turn, and then
had
a kid, yep, and then was Sweetwater's like the next venture that you started in, obviously. So Sweetwater's there's over 100 locations, right?
Signed. They're expanding franchises, and so there's, I believe, 12 open right now. I want to say 22 opening this year.
Wow.
Yeah, they're going for it.
So how did you get connected into that then?
So just being in the restaurant world, our carts were literally a block down the street from the flagship corporate store.
Yep.
So I got to know the B's, Wade and Lisa B, the founders of Sweetwater's, pretty well, in addition to actually playing soccer initially against Way, and now I am on his soccer team. So every game or so, he's like, hey, how's it going? Are you going to get back in the restaurant industry?
Yeah, okay, so just
so it's kind of like always in the back of my head, like, yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. And then, so at some point you're like, I'm ready to do this. What was like kind of that like final, like, okay, I'm done in IT.
Yeah.
And I want to get back into restaurants.
I was just getting complacent and not satisfied with, or feeling fulfilled with my job. And I could probably do a few different things in my career along that path, but I don't think I would ever really feel like I was putting 100% into it because it just wasn't my own. It was probably never going to be my own. I was probably never going to have an IT company or anything like that.
Okay.
It was just really hard to go through the week, Monday through Friday, spending so much time at work and then coming home exhausted and not having very much time with my kids. So it would be like I see her for 2 or 3 hours and then it's bedtime.
Yeah.
And so that I didn't like very much either.
Yeah.
So I wanted the flexibility of being my own boss again, wearing whatever I want to work, like small things like that. Just
Gotcha.
having the time to myself and time to be able to like go to PTO meetings in the middle of the day if I wanted to. So I think really the time with the kids pushed it off the edge.
Gotcha. Okay, so obviously.
Which is kind of funny because the whole reason I left the restaurant industry was the complete opposite reason.
Yeah, so what's, well, and you know, because I look at my life too, is like, a lot of the reasons I chose to be an entrepreneur is to have that flexibility in a lot of ways. I get that, but I see how much you're working, and it's generally more than 40 hours, and that's how, you know, I work a lot more than 40 hours too. It's kind of funny, that motivation. So I'm assuming you said like, Way, I want to do this, like,
so actually I went up to them and had another restaurant. I just have business ideas flowing through my head 24/7. So I had one kept coming back to me, and it was another restaurant idea. But I knew like I didn't want to get back into that cycle of working 80 hours on a floor at a restaurant and stuff. So I approached Way and Lisa and asked them if they had any interest in partnering with this restaurant idea. They were like, we're actually extremely busy right now because we're franchising, and have you thought about a franchise opportunity? And I had not, so.
Okay, so you had a completely different idea, and you knew that, I mean, you had a good relationship with them.
And I knew they were like great business people and just great people in general, so.
So you were looking for a partner, and then they said, well, no.
Yeah, like at least not right now.
Yeah, and then they said, but do you want to open?
Yeah, just
this franchise.
Right.
Okay.
So they were scouting out franchise owners. And so.
Gotcha. So this was their first step into doing that then, or?
Oh no, they were kind of already in the process. So they partner with Franworth, which is a franchise operations company, and the main thing Franworth focuses on is finding good franchise, or I should say potential franchise owners, and then helping franchise owner or Sweetwater's expand into the franchise model. Gotcha. So that's the main thing that Franworth focuses on, and they partnered with Sweetwater's to be able to expand all Sweetwater's, and they do companies like Title Boxing, Lash Lounge, Spavia. They're all Franworth companies that they have partnered with. So.
Okay.
That allows Sweetwater's to focus on their products and like cafe operations and the things that they're great at.
And not worry about what is the franchise model specifically, or like
or how to manage that.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So.
So they were all like kind of started in that process and had already partnered with Franworth, and were starting to sign stores. So we were not the first.
Not the first.
Yeah.
Okay. And. So when I guess you buy in then, right? Mm-hmm. And there's typically, you know, a share of revenue and things like that. So do you mind sharing what those numbers look like, or?
Yeah, so there's a franchise fee up front. It's pretty typical for any franchise model to be able to basically have the permission to use the license. And that was $50,000. And then the royalty percentage is pretty much the same across the board in that industry, which is 6%, which is like Domino's is 6%.
Yeah.
So it's about the same across the board. So we looked at those numbers too to see, you know, compare.
Do they work?
And yeah, exactly.
So $50,000, that doesn't get you I mean, obviously, it allows you to have a store, but then like obviously you have the actual retail space. So then you also have the rent there. That's on you, I'm assuming.
Right. Yep.
All of the equipment, you know, there's
construction costs, everything.
Okay.
So we pay for that.
Okay.
And that can typically range for a store between anywhere from like $250 to $450, depending on like how big your store is, what area you're in, and the construction cost for that. How much needs to be done to the space. Like it can vary widely.
So like all in to get started, you can be from like 250 to 500.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just to like, here's my coffee shop, and do that. So, I guess, on one hand, like, why not just do a coffee shop by yourself?
Yeah. Well, they have 25 years experience of like successful experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's one of the companies in Ann Arbor who's kind of a staple and everyone recognizes the name, so brand recognition.
Yep.
The products I really like. They're real ingredients. There's no artificial colorings and preservatives and all that stuff.
Yep.
They also have like an Asian influence, which is obviously what I was going for it to begin with.
Yeah.
So they carry a lot of Asian influenced drinks and flavors.
Okay.
So kind of the whole package was what I was looking for in a coffee shop. So if I were to do one, it'd probably look very similar. But I would have to do it from scratch with all of my hard work and.
Gotcha. And I guess too, the cost of remodeling a store to make it a coffee shop is, whether it's Sweetwater's or your own, is the same. So it's really just the royalty and the upfront fee.
Yeah. And it's not like we get nothing back for the royalty. I mean, it doesn't just end with the brand recognition and the products and everything, but it's also like support and training and ongoing like marketing. I have a whole support team that I can rely on that just does things, and it's like magic.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Do you feel like, obviously you started this, part of it was to get your time back in a sense. Do you feel like you got that? Like, is it shaping up to be what you wanted it to be?
It is. The more months that go by, the more I can step away. But it's also kind of the freedom of flexibility. So if I'm not there right at 7 a.m, I'm not getting my butt chewed out.
Yeah.
It's like, and if I need to leave in the middle of the day, take my daughter to a doctor's appointment, I can do that. And I don't have to report to anybody. And I am probably working a lot more hours than I would be in an office, but it doesn't feel like work at this point. Like I want to do it. I don't mind opening my laptop at 2 a.m. and busting something out just because I know it needs to get done, and I'm happy to do it.
Gotcha. Awesome. So that's good. It's nice when you can start a business, and obviously at this point, like, you're in it.
Yeah, right.
And then have it be what you want it to be. So, obviously it's doing well, because you're opening a second store, so you're like, hey, I'm ready to do this. You're remodeling another store. Yeah. I guess, is this all like just cash you had on hand? Are you getting loans? Does Sweetwater's help fund this? Like, what does that look like? Because that's, at some point, you got to have $300,000 per store just to.
I'm getting loans from friends and family, so I'm not going to a bank for that, thankfully. Although I still need to pay interest, so.
Yeah.
And Sweetwater's is not. They don't contribute anything financially toward opening other stores. So yeah, I'm going to be working really hard for a long time to make sure that I am paying everything back. But that's also part of like the drive.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the risk is there, and you have to make it. So you basically have to make it work.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you got friends, family, and you're just paying them back interest, and it's just they don't have any like ownership. I guess what are those terms looking like? Are you like paying them back for like 5 years, 10 years? Is it like a 30-year mortgage? Like, what is,
yeah,
how are those set up? Because at some point friends and family run out of money too to open more stores. And
so it's part owner, but I'm a majority owner.
Okay.
And right now I have a lot of years to be able to pay it back, so I'm very thankful for that.
Awesome. Okay, so you gave up some ownership, but you're also paying them back now. Are you paying them back for everything then, or are they like leaving money in because they're owners?
I'm planning on paying everything back, but
and then buying them out, or are you
We haven't really actually decided yet.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, gotcha. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how that goes,
Yeah.
because it's when you have that ownership stake.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to keep their cash,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah,
right? So is that, and you're doing that, you've done that for the first one, and you're doing that for the second one,
Yep.
I guess. Why didn't you go to banks and get like a regular business loan?
Higher interest and fees.
Okay.
And they still wanted a pretty sizable down payment to get the loan.
Gotcha.
So it made more sense to do it this way.
Okay,
For
so,
me.
yep, okay, so cheaper interest, less cash out of pocket for you.
Yeah.
And,
Less
Yeah,
fees, like
less-
bank fees.
yeah, okay. And that's, alright, yeah, so that gives you that flexibility, and then
Yeah.
obviously if you were to do a third one, now you have these other two to kind of show for it. And probably
Right.
that help with that? Is
Yes.
that kind of,
Yeah,
are you doing a third one?
maybe.
Maybe.
I won't promise anything now, but it's really hard for me to turn down good opportunities. So if
Mhm.
one comes about, then probably, I don't know. We'll see.
Gotcha.
We'll see how the two go.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. When you were approached to open the one in Meyer, then did they give you any indication of like what kind of numbers they were getting from their Starbucks that was in there to like have you go, oh, this will work. This is kind of a slam dunk. Like, I can expect X amount of coffees bought every day or something like that.
No, actually, which is kind of risky. They didn't actually give us very many numbers. They gave us a couple of general ones almost after we decided to do it.
Okay.
Which I know is not the like traditional way of figuring out your risk.
Yeah.
But we decided, since we knew the area really well, they gave us numbers on how many people go through it, and 37,000 people go through that store in a week.
Wow.
And so if I could capture a percentage of that, that's kind of how I looked at it.
Okay.
Also, that the Starbucks that was in there wasn't run by a coffee manager or
Mm-hmm.
employees. It was run by Meyer employees, which, no offense to them, they're just not in the coffee industry.
Yep.
And the competition around there, while there's another Starbucks drive-thru in the parking lot, doesn't have the best track record either as being the best store. So
Okay.
I had heard anecdotes from people like that they would go actually park and go inside the Meyer to get a different Starbucks than to sit in the drive-thru. So like,
Wow. Okay.
so some of the anecdotes were that, and the numbers of the traffic, and they're saying it was like in the top, 15% of all the Meyer stores or something. So
Yeah, that's it's definitely a busy Meyer. So
Yeah.
for 37,000 people to go through in any given week, that's
yeah, so if I can just capture a percentage of that, I think we'd be doing pretty well.
awesome. And then obviously too, you still have the Sweetwater's brand, which is
Right.
very strong locally, and
Yeah,
also your experience having another store then.
right. It's almost like not taking on double the amount of work for two stores, and there's a lot of advantages to having two stores where we can like share employees or inventory or something that would make life for both stores easier.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes
Also,
sense.
like, I'm trying really hard not to pay myself right now, just because it's in the starting months of opening the first store, and so we're really like trying to minimize our costs and everything. So if I had two stores to be able to draw revenue from,
Yeah.
it would be more comfortable to be able to pay myself a little bit.
Absolutely.
So just small things like that.
So is there? So you're not paying yourself now, and if
A little bit.
you're paying yourself a
A
little,
little bit, just
okay.
not a lot.
Okay, gotcha. Just enough to like.
Just to like float by.
Gotcha. Okay, so bills are paid,
Right.
but we need to get this thing
Yeah, exactly.
going, obviously, or is a lot of that money just going back to those loans and trying to like
Yeah.
fund this next store? Is that
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Also, like January and February are just dead in the wintertime in the north for any type of restaurant industry. So it's almost like your numbers are half of what they're going to be in the summertime for like any restaurant. So it's kind of like trudging through the winter, trying to get through to the warm weather.
Gotcha. So you're just stockpiling cash, and then
Yeah.
once that's through. Okay. And then I want to check our time here real quick because I don't know why that went away. But where did it stop? Oh, okay. So we're coming pretty close here. So I wanted to ask you some of the fire round ish questions. They're not gonna be really fast here, but I guess before we do that, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you feel like we should have talked about in this whole, like, this story here? We're kind of like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think you pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty well. Nice job.
Oh, thank you. All right, so I got a handful of questions that I'm gonna ask every guest here. So the first one is, what is your best habit?
So I think my best habit is to be able to make quick, rational decisions that might be big decisions.
Okay. Like starting
like
a
you're
new
right.
store? Or
Yeah.
like...
Yes.
So when they asked you to start a store, you just said sure. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much how I run, like, every day too, just on the floor in operations too. Like, just have a really, I think I have a good habit of
Gotcha.
like making quick, rational decisions that even if they're big or not. So.
Awesome. Cool. What are you bad at?
I think I could get better at focusing my time onto one thing.
Okay.
So I can be all over the place
Gotcha.
a lot.
And what are you doing to try to solve that, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm gonna force myself to sit down and really crack out my vision of what the Sweetwater's Cafe needs to be, both Plymouth Green and Meyer, and to stick to it and then break it down and work backwards from that on, like a strategic plan from
Okay.
there, so that I can really focus on the things I need to focus on to make those two successful.
Awesome. Okay, cool. What is your advice to a high school graduate, like fresh out of high school?
I would say to really, you don't need to figure out exactly what you're going to do with the rest of your life. It could change every 5 years, and that's okay.
Awesome. What about a college graduate?
Pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. Also, like, I think I use my architecture degree every day, even though I'm not literally drawing plans for people or designing buildings, but you can really use your degree to do a lot of different things if it's not even like in your major.
That's really encouraging because I have a English degree and I'm not using that at all. I mean, I speak English. I know how to read. And then what's your advice to a 50-year-old? Obviously, you are not 50.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But it's not too late for anything if they might think that, because I think a lot of people are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed coming out of college because they have the world ahead of them, but so does a 50-year-old. And it's like, it only takes a couple months to start something and completely change your life. So.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really good. Who has been the kindest person in your life?
My parents.
Your parents.
My mom's part owner.
Okay.
So, in that sense.
Yeah.
And in the, like, support sense. Yeah.
So, and I guess, like, that's your mother that I see often.
Yeah,
at the coffee
she's
shop.
in the
Okay.
shop every day.
Awesome. So does she have a more active role in, like, running things, or what does that look like?
Yeah, she helps me a lot with the back of the house stuff, the books, some of the operational things, and I recently sent her out canvassing with mini cold brew bottles to give to businesses with our catering menu, and people are calling me like, I just met your mom, she's so cute. I'm going to order something because of her.
That's fantastic.
I know, so I'm sending her out again today.
Awesome. Get to work, Mom.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then, what is a question you think I should ask all of my guests that I have?
I think what is your dream job and why aren't you doing it, or why are you doing it?
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So, I guess what is your dream job? Your dream job, or are you doing it?
I would say I'm doing it because I've always wanted to open a coffee shop along with like 5 other things. But I think it might evolve into something that includes traveling too. So we'll see what my vision I come up with in in the next month or two when I decide to write it, because I really need to.
You do need to. So, when are you gonna write that? Can we get a firmer date on that?
April 1st.
April 1st?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to text you.
Okay.
Like,
I'll send it to you in a text.
Fantastic. Awesome. So, lastly, before we go, kind of 2 things. One is there anything that the audience can help you with to do your business or help with your business or anything? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, we're really trying to turn the store into a community center where it's a third space for people to be able to come in, feel comfortable. They can, I don't even care if you kick your shoes off and put your feet up on the coffee table. But we really are trying to get some events going that involve community participation for the community. And whether that's talent night or a mom group meetup Friday mornings or whatever, it works better when I'm not the only organizer, but there are people who can come to me and say, like, I'd really love to come here every Thursday and knit or something, and I would be able to help them organize that and publicize it and stuff. So
yeah,
if people in the community like take advantage of this free space I'm giving you.
Gotcha. Okay, so you want people to organize stuff, get in there, and
reserve a table for your meeting or anything. Just like we want people through the doors and to feel like that store is part of their space.
Okay, awesome. And there's no cost for any of that?
It's all free.
All free?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean, it'd be great if you bought coffee, but it's free.
That's really cool. So, is there, I guess, what's the best way to sign up for those things, or how do we get a hold of you? Do you want to share that? I guess?
Yeah. I don't know if you could put my email somewhere.
Yeah, I'll put it all like in the show notes. So.
Email, Facebook we use daily. If you message me on our Facebook page,
okay,
I will get it personally and respond to you. We also post all of our events that we have going on Facebook. So I'd say Facebook is the main hub where you can get all the information and contact me.
Gotcha. What is your Facebook page called?
It is SW Cafe Plymouth Green.
Okay, so yep, so and obviously the reason I asked that, I know there's other franchisees and things like that. So
Sweetwater's Plymouth Green.
Sweetwater's Plymouth Green is what people look for. And again, I'll put that in the notes for the show. So if you're watching, check those out. So awesome. Well, Kristen, this has been great. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And if if you have any questions for Kristen, please reach out to her through the Sweetwater's Facebook page. She has been really awesome. I actually run a real estate meetup out of that Sweetwater's Cafe, and I can tell you that they are an excellent host. So, that being said, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching the Startup 360 podcast.